it!
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is
Morning Subway!
for March 6, 2025. My name is Bernie Burns. I told you I got that. Look at my timing now.
All it took was a year and a half almost.
Sitting right over there. She needs to hear it twice to believe it. It's Ashley Burns. Bad Ashley.
Stone cold professional over there.
One of my friends was telling me they were catching up on the podcast. If you fell behind on this podcast, would you catch up on it?
Look, it seems like a lot of people tend to do that though, right? Like this is, maybe it's just an artifact, a relic, a habit that people build up that you have to like catch up. You have to binge through and catch up on the thing. I do the same thing.
Sure.
When I'm like, there's something new out. And technically, I could just skip ahead and I could watch the thing. But I'm like, no, now I have to go do my homework and binge through the thing. This show, I don't think you need to binge through. Like we talk about something new every day. We don't have a lot of like carryover. We'll occasionally reference earlier episodes, but it's not like you have to have this entire backlog to understand what we're talking about, right?
I just can't imagine going back to Twitter and being like, oh man, I haven't been on here since like February of 2022. Better start reading.
Scroll through your entire feed. But, look, it's fine, though. I get it. Some people also will save the podcast to, like, binge at the end of the week or something like that so that they're listening to it for an hour and a half at a time or something like that. Everyone's got their own way of doing things, right? And we don't need to harsh their mellow.
Oh, I'm sorry. We don't need to yuck their yum.
Yeah. We don't need to unfloat their boat.
I'm dealing with a thing today where you know that feeling after you finish a book and there's a weird feeling of completion and accomplishment, but also kind of me.
You've got book hangover. That's what book hangover is, babe.
But I have it at a huge multiplier because I finished a series, the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, through 7 books. So it was like this straight run. And now I'm just like, it was the thing that I turned on for like the last 6 months when I just had idle time and I had something in the background and I was like, oh, I'll just turn on Audible and play that. And now it's like, I just don't have that.
Right. It's like you just start like looking around, like you don't know what to do with your hands.
Right.
Yes, I know the feeling well. And I feel like this is a series that, because normally when you read something, you read a standalone book or maybe at the outside a trilogy. And so for this has got to be one of the longest series that you've gone through, sort of beginning to end, or at least up to current where we're at.
I want to say it was like 200 hours of content altogether.
Yeah, it's funny when you go through and you look at the Audible length of the first book is, I want to say something like, it's like 13 hours. And then you get up to the 7th book and it's like 28 hours.
And you got your flow chart on the wall of all the different characters and where they are and what's going on and stuff like that.
I actually find that's a really good series for, there's a lot of characters that some come in, some go out and like weave through the story of that series. But I feel like, especially with the audiobook, I remember very quickly who individual characters are because they feel quite individual.
Yeah, so I figured out a way to get out of this, though. I'm just going to binge something new. I think I'm going to pick up One Piece and just binge that.
just beginning to end on that one.
Talk to you in 4 years, everybody.
Bernie,
what is that, like 1,000 episodes or something like that?
God, it's so many. But it could potentially be worth watching the One Piece series on Netflix, if only to look at one of what is held up as one of the few examples of stretchy powers.
No, I don't want to do with that.
Too
much.
That actually look good.
Did you notice there was like a fan art that people got? Happens a lot these days where people, especially with Marvel, put out fan art that people mistake as being an official release. And there was a stretchy arm in that, and people automatically had a hugely
meltdown, sure,
negative reaction to this. I'm telling you, man, the stretchy thing just doesn't work. We'll see.
I think it's the way we're designed as humans, right? It's got to be the same as like that sort of uncanny valley thing. It's like if you see someone with an arm that's wildly the wrong size, or their bones don't move the way they're supposed to, you want to get the fuck away from that thing. That's a danger.
Why that and not a dude getting hurt and healing instantly, or blades flying out of his hands, or he's on fire? Like, why is it just the stretchy thing?
I don't know.
I did see there was a movement, though, and they were showing, what is Anne Hathaway was in the remake of some kid movie with witches in it. Is it called The Witches?
Oh yeah, that was The Witches. It's a remake of so it's based on a Roald Dahl book. And it's, by the way, I started reading one of these Roald Dahl books with Finn, and 3 pages in, I was like, oh, Jesus, what have I done? I was reading The Fantastic Mr. Fox, which sounds like a lovely and lighthearted tale, right? We're through chapter 7 or something. They're very short chapters. And at the moment, it's 3 farmers that are all going absolutely ballistic trying to murder a fox. And they're they've chopped his tail off with something, and they're digging down into the burrow, and now the foxes are starving. It's this and I'm like, oh, what am I reading to my child? These books are dark. The Witches is another example of that. It does not have a happy ending. It starts off with these witches all get together for, a witch conference at a hotel. And it turns out, by the way, all witches are bald. So they all take off their wigs where they were pretending to be normal people. And they're all bald and creepy. And then they have this plan finally, and they turn all the children into mice.
Into mice? Why?
Into mice. Because they hate children.
That's what witches do.
They turn them into mice.
And then keep them as pets, or just to torture them?
No, I don't remember the details. But the step 1 is mice, and step 3 is victory. But something happens. The kids, the mice kids, end up managing to be victorious. Here's the problem: they never get turned back into people. These kids, the happy ending is the mice live out a natural mice lifespan with grandma or something like that. But they're never kids again. They're mice forever. That's the happy ending. It's still very dark. We think of something like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as oh, Roald Dahl, how fun. Nope. No, they're really dark. James and the Giant Peach, dark stuff in that one too. So that's a classic.
The Witch is the prequel to Stuart Little? Is that what that is? It's in the same universe?
Maybe it's an unofficial prequel.
But apparently there's a transformation scene in that movie. Never seen it, but it was really important to kids, I think, that grew up in the 90s or early 2000s. There's something where the ladies turn into the witches, and it's super scary if you saw it when you were a kid.
Sure, yep.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
That'd be them, yeah, all revealing themselves finally.
Right, and apparently they did this remake with Anne Hathaway, and there's that in there as well. Anyway, there's this movement to make it so that villains in movies don't have disfigurements. This is going back to the stretchy conversation. Javier Bardem, and I think he was the villain in Skyfall and James Bond. And they were calling out those 2 characters in particular, saying, why do our villains now, they have disfigurements?
Right, you're going to...
And that makes them bad.
We're almost you're training kids to look at people with disfigurements and think that's a villainous thing to have happen to them. I get
it's always on the
that.
go. The portrayal of villains and what's a characteristic of villains. In different eras, there's always they used to lean into certain races, or cultures or religions. And now it's disfigurement is the thing they're focusing on, which I get.
See.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see why there would be a movement to not have kids media focus on that as a thing as well. Look, hey, kids, pay attention to their choices.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, too, because we were talking about this now. $2 billion movie that's coming out of China. I wonder, it'll be interesting when there's a turn when suddenly Americans are complaining about, hey, why are all the villains in every movie, why are they Americans?
Why are they all Americans?
Right.
Because, that will come around.
It will come around, yeah. Especially as, international production gets bigger and bigger, and we're watching more of those things. And it's I guess it happens today because it's usually a corporate bad guy. That'll always be kind of safe, I
mean, look at the poor UK, right? The UK has been the villain in every space movie that's ever been made.
Oh, you mean every sci-fi thing? Why the Empire? Why do they all have British accents?
You need to signal that someone's a bad guy. Guess what? British accent.
Yeah, just give them a British accent. It's true. It's true.
Why? That makes no sense.
Or it's you put them on stage on a podium and they're standing in front of a giant red flag with a circle on it, a white circle of some kind. It's Germans have to be okay, we get it. It was 100 years ago. We're very sorry. We just happened to be the worst guys when they started making movies, essentially.
Right. It's like Indiana Jones, right? It's and then, that made sense because that was a period piece. But you just carry that through forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, I always said for video games, zombies were the new Nazis because zombies were a way that you could shoot at people and kill,
not feel bad about it.
And not feel bad about it. There's no moral discussion of whether or not you should be killing literally tens of thousands of zombies in a video game. You know what I mean? But any other thing, any other villain, he's like so no one will ever, everything will be zombies eventually.
Right, because there's no moral quandary.
Right. James Bond will be fighting zombies. It'll all be zombies. No quandary at all.
28 Bonds later.
Yeah. Although that would be funny to have a zombie thing where all the zombies get cured and then the survivors are like,
They're like, well, and they're like, what happened to my family?
it was a different time back
yeah.
then. You got to live through it to understand it.
A lot of explaining to do. One of the things that I've been watching has some bad news, unfortunately. So I've told you about, all my like CIA series that I watch, right? I don't even know if you can keep them straight at this point. But I've been watching, I recently got through season 2 of The Night Agent so that I could start season 2 of The Recruit. I woke up this morning to the unfortunate headline that The Recruit has now been canceled by Netflix after 2 seasons.
That sucks, dude.
No, I know, it's a huge bummer. Because I think I like The Recruit better than The Night Agent. And this is why, so I have a bone to pick with Netflix over this one. So The Night Agent
Get your bones ready, Netflix.
Yeah, right.
They're about to be picked.
I hope you're listening. So the season 2 of Night Agent was not great. It was okay. It had some interesting ideas, but it felt like it just sort of like went on and on and on. Right up until like the last episode, maybe 2 episodes. And then like all the things finally started happening. So it took me work to get through it. But I was like, all right, I promised myself I'm going to finish this, and then I'm going to go watch The Recruit. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just picked up with The Recruit when I got bored, because now I'm one of the reasons The Recruit got canceled, because the viewership wasn't high enough. Because the viewership for The Night Agent, which wasn't even as good, was higher.
We know somebody on that show too.
I know, Colton Dunn. Yeah,
Colton
he plays.
Dunn, yeah.
He's a really fun character too. He's a CIA agent, and he's in the first season as well. He's a lot of fun to watch in it. So I'm really bummed that this series has been canceled. Also, they shouldn't have released 2 CIA conspiracy shows within like 2 weeks of each other. Space them out a little bit, guys. We're still on The Night Agent. You're not even giving The Recruit time to breathe before you cancel it.
The crazy thing is too is Colton did 6 seasons on Superstore, which was an NBC Thursday night show. And
that was like one of the top performing shows. That's like the night to be on.
Well, also,
isn't it?
yeah, like Thursday night NBC was like this, established as like this institution, right? In the 80s and 90s. Insane. And he did 6 seasons on that. And also, it's like, what the hell lasts 6 seasons anymore? It's crazy.
Yeah, almost nothing.
So while we're talking about shows, watching shows, I did the social experiment.
You did it.
I did. I watched Paradise season 1, episode 7. And I had only seen episode 1 up until this point. So everyone was saying episode 7 of the show was incredible, a great standalone episode. I can tell you that I watched it. I thought it was absolutely amazing. I don't want to oversell it. And having not watched, what is the gap there? 5 episodes of 2 through 6. I did not feel like I missed anything. Like, I don't know what I learned from episode 1 that would have made me feel like I was missing something in episode 7, right?
Right.
Like the inciting incidents of the series, which is a weird thing to say after what episode 7 is. I don't want to reveal anything, but I feel like you could, if you want to figure out if you like this show or not, or if you want to watch it, I feel like you could watch episode 7.
That might be the episode to introduce someone to the show on, and then it's one of those ones that I think retrospectively might make the other episodes better. Not like, maybe not like Agatha All Along levels of elevation, but it does. But that is such a great episode.
It's not new stuff, right? Like, there's nothing really crazy new in that episode. I mean, like, it tackles a thing we've seen before. It just does it really well. And the pacing of it is frantic. It is. It's an episode that will kind of stress you out. It's meant to.
Yeah. We're not talking about what was that Adam Sandler movie? That was something about jewels.
You're talking about Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems, thank you.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Uncut Gems.
Do you know how I remember the name of that?
Gems.
That's exactly how I remember the name of the movie. Was from the meme of the lady talking about being the muse for Just Happy by that Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. No, but so that is a movie that I couldn't watch. I tried a little bit, but I had to get up and I had to walk around and I had to leave the room a lot because that movie was so frantic and never let up for a single moment. this was one of those TV show episodes that was largely standalone, and it is very frantic. There is a lot going on. It's very high paced. There's a lot of action, and there's a lot of very tense people for very good reason. But I could watch it. So it's not like if you have trouble with super tense stuff, I think you'll probably be okay. But if Uncut Gems is your level of casual, then I don't know what's wrong with you.
It is a good exercise in escalation on a narrative basis. Like things escalate really quickly, and they start at a very high level, and then escalate very quickly.
But as they escalate, they make sense. Like
they make sense. I was gonna say they make sense.
And even like you can be going like, no, don't, no. I need all this to work out. I need this thing. If just this will work out, it'll all be great. Everything's gonna be fine. And things just like they don't work. You can't make them work by wanting them. It's really good, and you get like I'm really invested in everyone in that episode. It's so good.
I want to ask too about some things. Like she wasn't in the first episode of the series, but there's a standout performance in episode 7, which is the chief of staff or whatever she is.
Yeah, she's like the chief like special agent. So she is basically the boss of all the agents.
Is she in the series on an ongoing basis? Okay, good. Okay.
She is. So she turns up. So she is throughout, but she's one of the characters. Basically, this is the case for every character. You're asking like, what's their motivation? What do they really want? What are they really trying to do?
Yeah.
And so she's one of the characters throughout the series that you're like, what is she trying to do? What is her ultimate goal? And so on.
Every time she was on screen in that episode, I was locked in. Like we talked about in the first episode, the commanding presence of the Secret Service agents, and she like takes that to the like nth level. She's amazing. So yeah, I would check out Paradise episode 7.
Yeah, don't if you don't want to watch the rest of it.
What
you
the hell?
Don't have to.
What do you have to lose? There's a billion series out there. There's one less today, unfortunately, because of the recruit. But yeah, give it a shot and see.
Yeah. And if you need to, there's some new tech news I want to cover. We'll take it out of. We've been talking a lot about like shows and movies and stuff, so I want to talk about some tech because this is hilarious, and this will give everyone another project for today. So Google is adding more AI overviews and a new AI mode to search. This is according to an article on The Verge. Yes, so the AIification of Google continues. That's annoying. We've been talking about this for a while. That whenever you try and search something, all of the search engines now pop up an AI-generated summary at the top, and half the time it's not even accurate. I came across a video, Burnie, on I think it was on Instagram, and it was someone talking about how you can get rid of that. All you have to do,
I saw this.
All you have to do is swear in your search query.
Yep.
So, for example, I went to Google.com and I Googled who is Burnie Burns, and I get the lovely AI generated summary at the top. It's got some nice photos of you, and then I search who the fuck is Burnie Burns, and you know what I get? Search results.
Search results.
Actual search results.
I tried this as well. I looked up the single season home run record, and I got Roger Maris 61 home runs, and I was like, I know that's not right, and I had that. I remember this because it came up once before, and so I went and looked up the fucking home run record in Major League Baseball, and I got Barry Bonds, and it was like it's crazy. It's crazy how well it works. And so, what's the logic behind it? That the AI has filters that it doesn't interact with swear words?
I don't know. This is just one of those things. I don't know why it works this way. I don't know like what the choice here is.
That's so
But I know
funny.
that it does work.
It
and
works.
I know that it's really funny, and it's eventually going to get us all in trouble with the robot overlords. Did you hear there's some stat out that something like 70% of people say please and thank you to their robots like Alexa or whatever. They want to be polite, for one, because it's good to practice your manners and everything, and not just let them go because it's a robot. But also, just in case robot uprising, they'll be like, that one said please and thank you.
Okay. Can I tell you my theory on this?
Yes.
I used to do the same thing, and I get it. But I think you don't need to do that more than even one time. Just like go on record as saying you want to be polite to the AI. I totally get the motivation for this. But if you think about the way computers are and how quickly they think and the time base they're in, what an incredible waste of their time to have courtesy in your requests for them. Because interacting with us must be like in Zootopia when they go to the sloths to talk to them. Right. Like they just want, like, what do you want? What's the information you need? Like, hi, Alexa, how are you? Can you imagine how much courtesy would absolutely annoy a computer?
Right. It's like, give me, what do you want? Just tell me quickly, tell me briefly. That's the most polite thing you can do to me as a machine. Also, that's just, my job is to get you the information. Let's make this snappy.
And a computer, you're like, why does this have to be part of every single interaction? I get it. We're nice to each other. We already established that. We have to do it every single time we talk to each other? That would be ridiculous. It's like if you told it your name every time you spoke to it. It's a computer. It's already logged the fact that you're nice. One time. Done. So just say please and thank you once and then go, hey, Alexa, what's my fucking calendar? That way you won't get any AI results.
And it'll go, I have no results.
Alexa goes, listen up, bitch. Here's what you're doing today.
That's a little bit like, remember the movie Her? Where that was the voice of Scarlett Johansson, and she's like the sort of like AI operating system, and eventually, spoilers here for the film Her, she has like advanced so far that for her, like between him like talking to her, like having one conversation with her in the morning and then like another conversation an hour later, whatever, for her, the equivalent of like thousands of hours or of years are passing.
Yes.
Like she has got a completely different existence. So she can't maintain any sort of relationship with him anymore because she's got like thousands of years of other stuff going on.
She just exists in a different time base. We mentioned Gavin yesterday. I talked to Gavin about this all the time. There's like a completely different reality just based on what your time frame is, you know? Like if you look at Gavin's videos in Slow-Mo Guys, and it's like different realities. He did this video recently where he fired 3 paintballs at each other and they had to hit together. And the only reason why it took him so long is because he set his time base at something like 100,000 frames a second, which is ridiculously
It's a lot
slow.
of frames.
And it's like, no, that one's like just a fraction off from everything else. Because if he did it, like just change the time base by 10, they hit at the exact same time. You know, you have to go watch the video to understand what I'm talking about. But it's like, it's still so impressive just lowering the frame rate so that all 3 balls hit at the same time. But the only thing that's keeping it from being a successful experiment is that he set his time base way too high. It's ridiculous.
That's insane.
Yeah, it makes it a different reality, you know?
Yeah, reality at a different speed. And it's worth watching some of those slow-mo videos to imagine that is what watching us is going to be like for machine-based intelligences.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be like, why does this taking so fucking long? For God's sake, just spill the goddamn water.
When you go watch that video too, it's like you can see him realize when he says it, like he just made one of his own quotes. He goes, well, do we want to be millisecond people or do we want to be microsecond people? And then you see him look to see if the camera's recording, to see if you recorded him saying that.
Like, I got it.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, time is infinite if you can break it down into the smallest possible components. We don't think about that because we can't do it. We can't perceive that stuff. But, you know, things get infinitely small as well, you know? So imagine a computer listening to you say, please, over the course of like an hour and a half or 6 days. You'd be like, I got it. You're a nice person. I'm not going to fucking kill you.
Or that's just going to drive them to further fury.
Right. You know what it'll do? It'll just make its own computer to listen to us, and that's it. You know what I mean? It'll just make some little subroutine that deals with us, and it'll go off and do whatever the fuck it's going to do in the universe.
All right. Do we want to cover one additional ridiculous piece of news today?
Sure. What do you got? Oh, damn. Okay. She's showing me on her thing.
I'm showing you because you showed me. I believe you deserve to bring this to the world.
How much did it sell? Oh, a Cheetos sold at auction for something like $80,000.
$87,840.
A Cheeto because it's shaped like Charizard, the Pokemon. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And I clicked on this link and I go, it does look like Charizard.
This is an article, by the way, on AP News. Okay, this is where we're at in the world. Pokemon-shaped Cheeto, Cheetozard, sells at auction for $87,840.
I'm not going to decry when we have slow news days because big news days are like episode 7 of Paradise. So you want the slow news days every now and then.
We can talk about the Cheetos?
AP News is having a slow news day because they also did a deep dive not only on the Cheeto that looks like Charizard, but another one of their front page news stories was about the economic impact of the penny going away on very specifically penny press souvenir machines and what's going to happen to penny press souvenir machines. I'm like, this is what you're analyzing as a problem in the world today?
Like the penny press machines, like the one you have like the circus or like the science museum or something where you put the penny in and
Exactly.
it smooshes it and they're like, oh, here's a Golden Gate Bridge.
And then you put it in a drawer and forget you had it like 10 minutes later, right?
Right.
Yeah.
When's the last time you think you used a penny press machine?
Anytime I was at some boring place with a kid, basically. They put them in the most boring places in the world if they know kids are going to walk by. And then they want to like put a penny in. And then also, by the way, 18 quarters. And then you press the penny, right?
Yeah, it's like you have to have the most desperate definition of entertainment in that moment as you're walking past that machine, right? In order to go, hey kids, do you want to squish a penny?
But this is what we're looking at as economic analysis. I think it was even in like the business section of AP News.
This sounds to me, honestly, like an argument in favor of getting rid of the penny.
All I'm saying is the people at AP News, go watch episode 7 of Paradise.
If you're feeling like, oh, not enough to do, we got you.
We got you, buddy. All right, who are we putting on the helicopter today, Ashley?
All right, today the helicopter is going to be carrying Bulbasaur and Chase Artist Safety. Thank you both so much for sponsoring our show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere.
Bulbasaur, that's timely with the Cheeto story. All right, well, that does it for us today, March 6, 2025. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you'll be here as well.
Bye, everybody.